Our Duty Canada is the Canadian chapter of Our Duty International. We are a national parent peer support group for parents of children experiencing transgender ideation, led by parents for parents. We've been active since October of 2022. Here is a little bit about who we are and what we do. We are a support network for parents of children of any age experiencing transgender ideation. We use that term transgender ideation. We do have parents of adult children, teenagers and children, and parents of desisted kids who stay on with us and do this important work. Most of us have children struggling with distress around their sex and grappling with the largely unrestricted social and medical options being presented to them in Canada. And I say most of us because we do have a few concerned grandparents and citizens. We believe that no child can consent to synthetic sex hormones and surgical procedures that may permanently damage their health, sexual function, and fertility. And this is our bottom line. It is the medicalizing of kids that we're fighting against. As a group, we share a unique perspective based on two main strengths. First, we have a wealth of first-hand experience from parenting kids with distress around their sex and with the medical and mental health bodies offering them, quote, gender-affirming care. So we see this ideology play out, and we often see the medicalizing of our minor or young adult children play out from parenting these kids. And many of us have seen the inside of the mental health offices and clinics, and so we can see how that process begins. As dedicated parents, including researchers, academics, and mental health professionals, we carefully follow the research results, which have not proven the gender-affirming care model to be safe or effective. So yes, we have our researchers and our professionals, but as parents, we follow the research very closely. We work to increase public awareness and pressure our social, medical, and political organizations to conduct themselves from an evidence-based perspective. Also, our education bodies, we put the information in front of them so that they know what's going on and they can't say they don't. We know that children with other mental health concerns and who are likely to grow up to be gay are being harmed by so-called gender-affirming care every day in Canada. And this is very important to us because many of our kids fall into these categories. We do not believe that our potentially gay kids should be medicalized or even told that they should have been or may be the opposite sex. And we certainly don't believe that our children struggling with their mental health should be pushed toward the gender clinics. We will do our part to help end this. We will take the opportunities that we can, we will do the work that we can, and we will raise the awareness that we can so that our children, adolescents, and vulnerable adults are protected from this dangerous ideology. Far too many young people have already been harmed. Nobody can change their sex. Absolutely immutable. It is not something that we can change with drugs and surgeries. It is quite a crime that adults who should know better are allowing children to believe, are encouraging them to believe, that they actually can change their sex. Transgender ideation is a term that we use instead of gender dysphoria, which is a term coined by activists and built into the DSM-5. So we use the term transgender ideation instead. It is the process by which an individual comes to contemplate or believe themselves to be transgender. This ideation involves the initial formation and subsequent rumination on the notion that one's perceived sex differs from their actual sex. If not dismissed, these thoughts may become persistent, potentially leading to further psychological, social, and medical implications. And so we prefer to use this term for a number of reasons, including the trans activist push for gender dysphoria to remain in the DSM-5. We believe gender dysphoria was added in the way that it was, primarily for insurance purposes. We use this term because it doesn't involve ideological language, save for the term transgender, but that is the term, mindset, or idea that young people are ruminating on. Transgender ideation is a more accurate description of what's actually going on with these young people. It does not suggest pathology, so it's not insurable like gender dysphoria, and there's no regressive checklist of sex stereotypes involved. We don't think that little boys who like to dress up as princesses are little girls, and we don't think that adolescent girls struggling with their bodies during puberty are boys just because they say they are. Our duty is to bring our children to adulthood healthy in mind and body. It's important for parents to look at this difficult parenting as a duty. We talk a lot about parental rights, but we do have a duty to bring our children to their adulthood healthy and whole. We encourage the use of this term over gender dysphoria. Our Duty UK attempted to have the term transgender ideation included in the CAS review, but that was unsuccessful. It's so important to use accurate language to describe this phenomenon. A primary part of what we do is our parent support network. There's much overlap among members who seek support, offer support, and facilitate the support network. We have video calls and we have chat rooms where parents can come and get feedback and support at any time. We have an international chat where there's almost always someone there to listen or give some feedback. Our support comes full circle. We all take turns picking each other up off of the floor. And that's very true. One day you're going to be the one who gives the support, and another day you'll be the one who needs supporting. You are not alone. You are not the crazy one. And I cannot tell you how many parents have come to us and said, "I thought I was the crazy one until I found other like-minded parents." We put pressure on our social, political, medical, and education bodies to conduct themselves from an evidence-based perspective. So we participated in the Universal Periodic Review in 2023. We wrote a submission that was to be read in Geneva. Unfortunately, our submission was not read in Geneva, and we're unsure whether it was due to a technical error on our end or if it was something else. You can read our submission on our website, just one of the many projects our incredible volunteers have taken on. We participated in connecting groups and individuals to the Million March for Children, also in 2023 in Canada, which was recognized globally. So that was a really good way to say, we are parents, we are here, we're paying attention, keep your kids home. A big part of the Million March, and also something parents can do to show their dissent from gender ideology in schools anytime. We have a notice of absence written with the Parents' Rights Coalition of Canada, to whom we are a signatory, on our website. So you can find this form on our website and on the Parents' Rights Coalition of Canada website. Let the school know why your child won't be attending on those days. We recently took part in the public response process for the global transgender guideline that the WHO is trying to put out. We focused on Florence Ashley, a TRA here in Canada. And after we and other groups voiced our very valid concerns about this individual, Ashley ended up stepping away from the global guideline writing group. We have several surveys available on our website. We'll be promoting them a little more, and we're expecting more feedback from medical and mental health professionals and also from parents. Good wardens. This is an example of how we participate in global efforts. To add our voice, to add our backing to the good work that others are doing. So petitions that make sense to us and declarations that make sense to us. We wrote a policy brief for New Brunswick School Policy 713. It is now being essentially taken to court, and it is about the secret social transitions of kids in their schools. And so that leads us to our legal efforts. We have one member who is a fantastic legal-minded individual, and she has gained us intervener status in the lawsuit in New Brunswick that's happening now. We can now give evidence on behalf of parents and their children in this case, and we're applying for involvement in other cases as well. We write letters. That's part of what we do. We wrote an open letter to the Alberta Medical Association after they put out false statements about so-called gender-affirming care following Premier Danielle Smith's proposed provincial policies. We do find it very important to get our voice in there, and you can find all of our letters on our website. We do sometimes work together as chapter leaders to produce something like our first impressions of the final report of the CAS review. So that's why it's great to have that global network. We wrote an official letter regarding the CAS review after it was released, and we got it into the hands of all of the prominent education, political, medical, and mental health people and bodies in our country, so that they have it in their hands and they can't say they don't know. Our open letter urging immediate disengagement from the heavily discredited WPATH was signed by over 250 individuals and orgs and was sent to well over 1,000 individuals and professional bodies across Canada, again, so that they know. We are collaborating with Detrans Alliance Canada and the Parents' Rights Coalition of Canada to push toward referendums to prioritize sex-based rights over gender identity in the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. You can find more information on the Sex Recognition Initiative on Detrans Alliance Canada's website. We'll be putting out a Substack shortly, and it will include much of the work that we've done with a focus on parenting through transgender ideation and what we can do as a group to help end this. Something to watch for. We didn't know is a dying defense, and that is very true. A big part of what we do is try to get that information out there so that these people cannot say that they didn't know that they were harming children every day. So our Inoculation Against Gender Ideology project has been produced by a small team within our group. We create very short PSA-style videos, and the purpose is to get the videos out there in the Reels on Facebook, Twitter, or X, and on YouTube, so that someone who needs to see them will. Maybe a young person, maybe a parent, a teacher, a lawmaker. All of these videos are backed by research, studies, papers, viable statistics. I'm going to play the most recent video we've made called A Brand New You. It delves into how very young children, as young as 3, are indoctrinated into gender ideology and led to believe that they could be the opposite sex, neither or both, through the books they are read and that they have access to in their schools and libraries.
Once upon a time, in a land far away, all the children were innocent until one day, when a force came along that took over the books, saying kids could change sex. Come kids, take a look. The books told the kids that they were not who they thought, and that a brand new you could be borrowed or bought. Through cute, fluffy pictures and the allyship oath, little girls thought they were boys, or neither, or both. Little boys would wear dresses. The book said that was enough to turn them into girls, and if you called their bluff, then you would be pummeled with some very bad names, and you would be told not to make such a claim. The books with red crayons that thought they were blue, and the ones with a neither who didn't know what to do, gave kids an idea that grew and grew and grew. Why shouldn't every child get their own brand new you? It started with clothing and haircuts and toys. It made boys look like girls, and the girls like the boys. And then came the medicine that stunted their growth, to prepare them for other, or neither, or both. And then came more needles that changed them even more, until nobody knew who they were anymore. But along came one parent, and then 3, and then 4, and they gathered the books from every shelf, every drawer. They took all the books, and they put them away. And all of the children came out of their haze. They found the old books in a pile on the floor, the ones that kids treasured and learned from before. Soon the tears went away, and back came the laughter. And the boys and the girls lived happily ever after.
So we're hoping that parents, or young people themselves, who need to see these videos will. We want them in the Reels on X and YouTube. We want all of you to share them widely so that somebody who needs real information delivered quickly can have it. And maybe think twice about what they're about to do to themselves or allow to be done to a child. All of these videos are available on our YouTube channel and are linked on our X account and on our website. One incredibly impactful and important video was written by KPSS Reality on X and produced by our team. It was called Who Sterilized Me? That's a good one to watch and share as well. And it has been translated into French, Spanish, and Japanese. Incredibly powerful. Read to your kids before they do. This goes back to the book video. Kids are so impressionable and they do believe these things. We know that some kids are coming home saying they might be the opposite sex after being read a quote, queer book in the classroom. Parenting through transgender ideation. You can't fully understand what this ideology does to a child, a parent, a family until it hits your home. Until it hits your life, your family, your home, You can't see the extent of the damage, but that doesn't mean that there aren't amazing and dedicated people out there supporting children and us as parents as we deal with what's right in front of us. Parenting through transgender ideation is the most difficult parenting most of us will ever have to do. You have to be smart and strategic and always on the ball. It's very exhausting, but we do have many parents who have worked with their children to the point of desistance. We know that kids desist, especially when they have all of the information. This novel situation affects parents with varying backgrounds, beliefs, politics, parenting styles, and family dynamics. We are not, quote, right-wing bigots. This is a mind virus that can affect anyone. We all share similar concerns, general social criticisms, and legal and political roadblocks because of this ideology. And that applies to all of those who disagree with it, not just parents. The deck is stacked against us, and then as parents, we have this really hard parenting to do also. Parenting through transgender ideation produces ongoing PTSD. It is traumatic for parents as well as their kids. This was stated by Dr. Miriam Grossman in her interview with Jordan Peterson, and she has been such a warrior for parents. She has our back as an organization, and she has our backs as parents. We appreciate her so much for recognizing and supporting parents. Parents know their kids best. This is so true. It's not the teacher who claims to know your child better because he or she was, quote, safe enough for the child to, quote, come out to at school. It's not the doctors or the therapists. It's the parents who know their kids best. Parents have done their research, been down the rabbit holes, building an armor of data and information. And if we can share that armor of data and information with our kids, then we're 2 steps ahead. They're getting one set of data, one form of information, and we need to give them the rest. Once you break the barrier and talk openly with your kid about this, it does get easier over time. It's so hard. Parents may have to just take a deep breath and a heavy stance, plan ahead with what you're going to say, and then just say it. Then maybe even leave the room to let your son or daughter think. I am the only person in your life willing to tell you the truth, something parents can honestly say, and say it repeatedly over time so it sinks in. As much as you don't want to hear it, I'm telling you the truth. It's okay for us to disagree and still love each other, have a conversation, and be a loving family. I think it is so important to let kids know that they don't have to polarize against us because we disagree on something, even something big. This could be a very helpful approach early on, or even as a redirect later. You are not that weak that hearing your name or being correctly sexed is going to break you. I think that's so important because these kids are really being taught not to be resilient. It's always been good parenting to teach kids resilience, not the other way around. I don't subscribe to this ideology, so I don't use its language or participate in its practices and protocols. And I think this is so important to say to anyone. This is not my belief system. This is not my ideology. This is not my religion, and I just do not participate in it at all. Parents are the most invested in the health and well-being of their children, and this is true. And it comes back to us having a duty to bring them to adulthood whole and healthy and as unscathed as possible. And we're so much more invested in their futures than the doctors or therapists and everyone offering them this so-called gender-affirming care. And the teachers, we do have teachers in our organization. We know that it is not all teachers, absolutely. Not all doctors, not all therapists. Reality always wins, one of the many memes that we put out there from time to time. Keeping the household grounded in reality is so very important when you're parenting through this, creating an environment based in reality and critical thinking. So that brings me to the end. These are the places you can find us on social media, and you can always email us at canada@ourduty.group if you want to reach out. We're easy to connect with. And thank you for your support. And finally, there's our website,